Happy Wednesday, guys. Today's home workout is an AMRAP 10 of 5 dual kettlebell deadlifts, 10 ring push-ups, and then 20 sit-ups. This workout is meant to work on your intensity and working on some strength here. So first thing I would say, choose movements here where you can keep them unbroken to allow you to keep a nice high intensity, which that means going fast in this workout, but staying as consistent as possible with the movements. So 5 dual kettlebell deadlifts. You don't have kettlebells at home, find 2 objects. You can use like water jugs, also a good option as a power substitute for your kettlebells. Fill them up with water, and you guys can use that as your deadlift item there, and you can go for 2 if you have it, or you can stick to 1 if you're only limited to 1 to go for your deadlifts there. Then 10 ring push-ups. If you don't have rings or like a TRX style machine at home, you guys can go off of some objects, so make a deficit push-up, so you go a little bit deeper, because with the ring push-ups you're going a little bit deeper than we would with a push-up on the floor. So if you want, you can go deficit push-ups instead for the ring push-ups if you don't have something similar to that. And if those are too difficult for you, again, go off the knees or go from the floor to really work on your strength and to allow you to keep a good intensity in this. Then 20 sit-ups here. With the sit-ups, it's pretty straightforward. Make sure you're coming all the way up, shoulders are passing your hip crease, and you're staying fairly consistent by moving through them after each round, so keeping them unbroken. If you need to make this a little bit easier, try to grab something as you come up, or grab your knees as you come up to make it a little bit easier if you need to, but that's only as a scaling option as needed. After the workout, guys, we're gonna do some accessory work. So we're gonna work on that back and we're gonna work on the biceps. So we're going 3 sets of 30 bent over flies. So grab 2 objects, keep them fairly light. You're gonna really try to work on that mid-back engagement and avoid shrugging your shoulders. Then you're going 30 alternating single arm curls. So very similar position, keeping the shoulders down, not in a bent over position. But this time we're focusing on the biceps. So we're really trying to work on the upper body there. And ideally, maybe get a pump out of this one. I'm sure you will. There's 90 reps of each, so it's a good one to do. And if you haven't really worked on isolation movements, these are great to kind of work on to help build for other movements like the push-ups or any kind of pull-up movement. So make sure you get after that workout, after the workout there, guys. Hence the afterburner. And I hope you guys enjoy that one, and we'll see you guys next for the warm-up video.
Okay guys, for today's warm-up, we are doing 2 rounds of 50 running skips. If you don't have a skipping rope, you can just jog on the spot for 50 steps. Or if you want, you can do 25 jumping jacks. After you're done that, you're gonna go for 5 single-legged deadlifts on one side and then 5 on the other. For the single-legged deadlift, the goal here is to just extend that back leg so you can feel your glute squeeze, you can squeeze your butt, and then you're just gonna lean forward, trying to raise the heel up as the shoulders come down. So I'm trying to keep my body in a nice lever position, so I don't wanna bend my back knee or keep my leg low. I wanna try to move as a lever all the way down and then all the way back up again. This will be a balance test. If you're a little wobbly, kind of fall out of it, that's totally fine. That's a part of what we're working on. So if you kind of fall out of it, just recatch yourself, get your balance, and then get on to that next rep. Once you're done that, you're gonna go for 50 more running skips. Once you're done that, you're gonna get into some bent over rows. So 5 on one side, 5 on the other. So with that object in your hand, we're just gonna fold forward. Notice how my back is staying flat, head and neck are neutral. And I'm gonna think about leading back with my elbow and then up, and I'm gonna squeeze that muscle in between that shoulder blade until I'm done 5 reps on one side, and then I'm gonna switch to the other. Notice that my elbow is staying nice and close to my body. I'm not looking forward and putting stress on my neck. I'm just trying to keep that spine lengthened. So you're gonna do 2 rounds of that. Once you're done that, you're gonna go for 2 more rounds. The first movement we're gonna go over is the staggered push-up. So normally in a push-up, your hands are about slightly outside the shoulder width. For for this one, we're gonna keep our hands in the same spot, but we're gonna go up and out a little bit with one hand, down and back a little bit with the opposite hand. So we're still thinking about keeping that perfect plank position, and then we're just gonna move one hand forward and out, one hand back and out, and same rules apply in that push-up. If you guys need to go off your knees, you totally can do that as well. Once you're done 5 one way, you're gonna bring the other hand up, opposite hand down, core nice and tight, all the way down, all the way up again. Play around with it as you go here, guys. You can get your hands a little bit further and wider apart as you go. Make it a little more challenging. It's supposed to feel a little bit awkward as you go, so just work with the distancing of your hands. Once you're done 5 one way, 5 the other way, you're gonna go for 25 double unders. If you don't have a skipping rope, you can do the double tap hops. Or if you want to, you can still go for those 25 jumping jacks. Once you're done those, we are now going into a staggered squat. So normally in our squat position, feet are slightly outside the width of the hips. Obviously, normally the feet would be in line. For this one, my one foot's gonna come forward and slightly out, the other one's gonna go back and slightly out, and we're just gonna come down into that squat as we would 5 times on one side, and then we're gonna go back to neutral, reset our body, switch to the other side, and we're gonna go back into that staggered squat on the other side. Enjoy the warm-up, guys. It's 2 rounds of both of those. We'll see you next in the workout. A single arm deadlift, we like to place that item in between the feet. So your deadlift width is gonna be about where you squat. You can go a little bit wider if you wanna get into that sumo stance, that's totally fine as well. And what I want you guys to think about here is we're gonna think about that hip hinge. So I'm gonna think about pushing that hip back and then drawing my hips down after that. You can see my shin is still perpendicular to the ground. So the difference if I was squatting is my shin would be going a little bit forward. I actually want to push that hip back a little bit, get my hip up in the air a little bit, and then I'm going to hold on to my object. Pushing with the legs, opening with that hip, we're going to push that hip back, and then lower the object again with those legs. I want you guys to squeeze your butt at the top, make sure the abs are tight. Sometimes when we squeeze our butt, we tend to overarch. Let's make sure we don't do that. Also notice how my head and neck stay nice and neutral. So when I'm at the bottom of that deadlift, I'm not looking straight, I'm not looking down, but I'm kind of looking just maybe a couple feet out in front of me. I want the top of my head to my tailbone to stay in a nice and straight line. If you guys have the mobility and you find it easier or a different type of challenge perhaps, to stick to your normal deadlift position, so feet under that hip, and we're just gonna keep that dumbbell or kettlebell outside the stance. It makes it a little bit trickier, but it might be a good challenge for you today to do that as long as you keep that back nice and flat. That's the most important part.
With the push-ups here, guys, again, let's try and keep that nice tight hollow body, stay nice and straight the entire time. So with that said, let's not sag those hips, keep that butt tight, and then we're curling in that rib cage, keeping the abs tight. For the push-up here, I like to keep those elbow pits, or the inside elbow pits facing out in front of me. So I don't want them to face inwards. I like to keep them facing out in front, so that when I break at the elbows, I'm keeping my elbows already nice and tight to my body. So that's a good cue for yourself, especially also when you're coming up, you want to think about pointing those elbow pits back out again. So you guys can do your push-ups off those toes. You guys can do a push-up where you come down and then rock back up from the knees, then to the toes. It's kind of like a kipping push-up there, that's totally fine, as long as you're keeping that core nice and tight. Last thing, you can also try going off those knees. Just one error I see sometimes with these knee push-ups, guys, is that we keep our hips bent and then come down and push up like this. I want you to keep yourself nice and straight. So from your knees to your shoulders should be one straight line, come all the way down, and then back up again. Last movement, sit-ups. Again, guys, if you have an ab mat, great, you can use one, or if you want to roll up a sweater or a t-shirt to use as an object underneath your lower lumbar. This will allow you to open up that range of motion a little bit more in your sit-up. So again, with those sit-ups, guys, what I want to see, all the way back, chest where the shoulders touch the floor, hands can touch the floor on the way up. Remember, those shoulders should at least make it to the hip crease. So if you imagine a hip line with that hip crease going straight up, they should be in the same line as that shoulder on the way up. I don't want you guys to be back here finishing your sit-up. I want you to be all the way through with your back and chest up nice and tall. So again, one more rep here, coming up really tall, passing that hip plane. All right, guys, it's your returning champion, University of Miami. We're gonna start off with 3 super Swole sets with those bent over flies. So grab any object, make sure they're the same weight here. We're gonna bend over at the hips. We're gonna have a slight bend in those elbows, and we're gonna get those arms out as much as we can, trying to squeeze the shoulder blades and those lats to the top. Get that extra squeeze for more definition. We're gonna go for 30 reps here, try and see if you can do all 30 in a row here. One thing, make sure you're not shrugging those shoulders as you're doing it. Keep those shoulders down, especially when you're in that bent over position. So 30 of those flies. Once you're done, make sure you hike up those arm sleeves there. Then pick up your dumbbells. That's the most important part of it. From here, guys, you're gonna go for those alternating curls. So keep those elbows in. You're gonna curl that dumbbell or whatever weight you have all the way up. Make sure you squeeze at the top again for that extra definition. 30 alternating reps here. Make sure those elbows don't wander out to the side. Keep the elbows in. Hope you guys enjoy this and get super swole. See you guys for tomorrow's workout.
Brian's gonna finish.